Today we will talk, as Jan already pointed out, talk about short-form videos, and we hope that at the end of the 35 minutes, you go away with your own strategy, how you can make this video and this trend a success for you. I'm Alex, and my preferred short-form videos are actually videos that present like tutorials. For instance, those photo tutorials where you see, okay, if you flip the camera around, then the view on you will be even cooler, or this is the position and so on. And I see a lot of them. And as you might see from my introduction reel, I love templates and I love playing around with a lot of these apps that can work on make pictures to videos. In my professional life, I'm an agency partner, which means I consult media agencies on how to best use our tools and how to get the most out of our advertising, or their advertising dollars actually. And with this, I didn't come alone. I brought, oops, wheel number 2 isn't playing, I think. Okay, I brought Katharina with me.
That's fine. You would have just seen the reel of my creation. So a lot of reels that I do are about travel, are about cooking. I love to be informed about new trends on reels, and very excited to be here together with Alex today.
Wonderful. So what we will be talking about today is, on the one hand side, the trend behind reels and why this is important. And then after that, even more importantly for you as advertisers and agencies, I assume, how can you actually make this a success for you? And obviously, as also beforehand, there will be time for your questions, and Jan will ask them to us. So shoot away with all your questions. But before we come to our content and to your questions, there will be a little poll being started now, because we have 2 questions and we want to know you a little bit better. Question number 1 is just to check on your proficiency on Reels. So have you ever created and posted a Reel? So are you a heavy user? Are you using it sometimes, or do you say, no, actually, I never did that? And the ones of you who say, oh, what even is a reel, also would love to know that. And the second question is based on a little of an experiment that I did. I counted the numbers of days within the day. How often do I take out my phone and scroll to my social media in order to see what's going on? And I don't say the concrete number, but I have to say it's quite a lot. So also there, don't be shy. And I really would love to know how often, or actually how often you, even at the moment, have the phone on your lap and think about scrolling through Facebook, Instagram, or whichever social media. And I'm really now excited to see the results. I don't see them yet. Okay. So what I see is the majority of you say, okay, sometimes I already used the reel or did a reel. That's great. So you already have experience. And there is a fair amount, like 54% of people that were honest and said that you are currently having your smartphone on your lap and you're probably doing something in parallel. And actually, you don't really have to be ashamed of that, because it actually this proves a trend. Because what we see is that on our platform, there are 3.8 billion people that use our platforms daily. And 3.8 billion, that means like it's half of the world. And also in Germany, if you are from here, we currently see a historic moment, because according to the Global Web Index, 94% of all people in Germany are now using mobile media, and on average 2.5 hours a day, which means that this year, or even last year, mobile media surpassed TV. And social media, the time is around like 1 hour and 40 minutes that this is used. And what are people doing there? I don't know if you remember the discussions you had on your schoolyard. When I was in school, 21 Jump Street was like pretty cool. And I have to say, I had a little crush on Johnny Depp. And we exchanged on the schoolyard about like the latest cases and obviously around also Johnny Depp. And what we see now on the schoolyards is people saying, well, I cannot even remember the names of those stars, but what they can remember and what they talk about is the latest reel or the latest short-form video of Emilia or the elevator boys, how they wanted to go to a party. And the latest, or one of the latest covers of Bravo Girl showed Miss Bella, which is also a creator. So what we are talking about is very, very different from what we did beforehand. And also, and I spoke about this little TV studio already, we see that when I was a student, we had like a session around Studio Hamburg, and we built a short-form video. And we had a cameraman, we had a sound man, we had continuity, we had then, when the video was shot, a time where we cut the video. And it was kind of a room, 20 square meters full of expensive techniques. And all of that is now a very small mobile phone where you actually can't become Steven Spielberg, but you can become a creator of your own. And yeah, with all of these creative tools accessible, people actually use them, and people expect also that advertisement and marketing looks like that. So 79% of young consumers agree that they're tired to see like all those perfect and polished images and advertisement. And there is what we found, 84% chance that actually like realistic shots and not polished shots will outperform what we currently see as a standard advertisement, what I would say. So we really expect people and advertisers as a consumer to use all the techniques that are at hand, all the like AR filters, the AI experiences, and so on. And actually, BrandLift studies showed that if advertisers use that, they will perform 139% better. And at the heart of all of that is short-form video. And as Jan rightly pointed out, it is not the future, it is the here and it is the now. And for us, it is an expression where people, on the one hand side, show what's important to them. It's a little bit more, how to say, planned than stories are, but definitely it is something that's not polished and not from an ivory tower. At Meta, short-form video, we call that Reels, for everybody who wasn't aware of that so far. And what we see, for instance, that if you opt into Reels in placement optimization strategy, on average, Reels will be the third biggest placement, just behind feed and stories. So it is really important. As I mentioned already, 3.8 billion people use our platforms. In Germany, according to Global Web Index, that's 65% of the people. And more than half of the time they spend on Facebook and Instagram, people watch videos. And it's like more and more time they spend, they are even watching Reels, with Reels being our fastest growing format. We currently have 140 billion Reels plays per day, which has doubled since last year. And this trend is still upwards. And in addition to that, what we see is that the usage of Reels is additional time spent on our platform. No, the time on our platforms went up by 24% since we introduced Reels. With all that usage that grows continuously, I think this is something all short-form video formats have in common. So yeah, what makes Reels actually different? And for us, media serves two purposes. One is entertainment and one is obviously connection. And as everybody in this call might remember, or probably you might not, our vision as Meta is to help people to build community and bring the world closer together. So what we are actually positioning also Reels is, and focusing Reels on, is how can we make sure that Reels build connection, and how can we make sure it's entertainment, so it's this intersection. And we think and we see that this is our main USP, and that's why we think we will be very, very successful in the market, and we will outperform the market here. It is a lean forward medium. I already said that, which means also, yeah, people share that, people discuss it, speak about it with their friends. So what we see is there are 2 billion shares already every day, which has doubled since 6 months. In the interest of time, I will jump over the next quiz and summarize in what people do. So it's not only that they share that with their friends and family and discuss about it, it's also something that helps them to connect with businesses, meaning people that have watched the wheel will very, very likely, if they like the wheel, obviously, follow a company. So 3 out of 4 did that already. And a lot of them will also write a message to the company to learn more. And 2 out of 3 people even have purchased a product or service after they watch Reel. And we see all of these engagement numbers are significantly higher on our platform compared to the competition. Not only globally, but also in Germany, we see these trends. And that means for advertisers that Reels will also help them to supercharge their results, which is why we recommend to add Reels to a placement strategy. And I say add and not replace, because our platform from day one are based on AI, and I think you all can see currently what AI is even able to do. So this power of machine learning is something that we highly recommend to use because we already have that as part of our strategy since day one of our platform, since everybody of the 3.8 billion people sees their personalized experience. Our systems just work best if they can have the full freedom. Reels is also a format that works across the funnel, which is something we are asked quite often. We see the value for upper funnel targets, but we see it also for lower funnel targets. As you know, we are huge ambassadors of business KPIs, which is why we did a study with UC Berkeley on the impact of our advertisement, and their result was that every dollar spent on our platform brought an ROI of $3.31. And adding Reels to the placement mix even increases that. For instance, if you add Facebook Reels, this brings up even 3% additional sales. We have a case of Dawezine, which we will shortly show. Dawezine is one advertiser here in Germany, and it's actually one of the pioneers that used Reels because what they wanted to find out is for Dawezine, how can we actually make sure that the topic of food intolerance is actually something that's not only relevant to young audience, but that also young audiences know how to, maneuver this topic. And that's what they used Reels for, and they saw a 6-point increase of ad awareness and also a 3.5 increase of brand awareness. And this is how it looks like. So as you see, not really super polished, but something that's far closer to the heart of the audience. But with more success recipes, I will hand over to Katharina.
Thank you very much, Alex. My pleasure to be here. So now we've understood that it is a thing, it is relevant, the masses are already on there, so it is time. And I would like to show you how to get started. So, of course, at this point, you might be wondering, so how do I activate Reels? What do I have to do? What is the best way to approach it if I've never done it before? So we would say there is a simple 3-step framework. The first is walk. Everyone starts by walking. Babies don't sprint, they start by walking. So pull yourself up in that metaphor and check the box to opt in to Reels placement by adding to your stories or feed placements. I'll show you how that works in a second. The second one would be run. So optimize your existing creative or build new creatives for Reels. Ideally 9-16 because that works better. And the last one would be sprinting, so experimenting with creative formats and levers to drive better Reel performance. That might include creators, for example. As you can see here, that what you're seeing right now is the second stage, so adapting for Reels. And the third one, which you can see now, is a sprint phase. So really working with mobile first creators, working with trends and tendencies you might be seeing on Reels. But it doesn't always have to go from 0 to 100. Similar, as I said, with the baby metaphor, start by walking. And that for our platforms means checking the box. It's as easy as that. So you can do it either via Advantage Plus placement, which basically includes within our Ads Manager interface all the placements that we have from Instagram to Facebook to the Audience Network. Simply check the box to be present on all platforms and all placements, and our algorithm will make hard work for you of selecting what is right for the right target and the right moment. The other thing you might be using is manual placement. So here, just make sure you're ticking the box behind stories and Reels to make sure that you're also leveraging the potential of Reels. That means Reels aren't replacing anything. They're in addition to stories, to feeds, to whatever strategy you might already be using. That's another format to love. We're a platform of many formats, of many placements, and the joy and also the opportunity is that you can buy all these together without having to make a lot of creative adjustments. Of course, you can do that, and I'll show you how that works later on, but there's no new platform to learn. It's Instagram. Everyone loves Instagram. Everyone knows Instagram. It's just a new placement. So don't throw out your playbook. Just make sure you're ticking the box. As you can see on the next slide, Heineken also tried adding Reels to their existing business as usual campaign by simply ticking the box and using their existing story creative for Reels with mind-blowing results, because it's really just, it's just a tick of the box, and it worked really well and outperformed their business as usual strategy. So you should be seeing the video right here. As you can see, it's a standard, or it was a standard stories creative that was added to the placement mix. However, this is the walk status. So what do we mean by running or sprinting? Here, creative makes all the difference. It's a variable that really, you should be leveraging and also fine-tuning once you got the basics down. Here you can start getting creative. It is the variable that multiplies successes for any campaign. So what does that mean? If you want to speak the language, and if you want to pass from walk to running, you need to make sure that the creatives you're using for Reels are 9:16. That's the format that works best. That's also, it has different safety zones. Make sure you're also looking at these. They tend to change. They won't anymore. We passed that stage, but yes, please respect the safe zones, and also think about audio. In any of our placements, skippable or non-skippable, audio isn't as important as it is for Reels, because we see that more than 90% of Reels are watched with audio on. That's a huge opportunity to enlight with the sound on, but also a huge miss if you're not thinking about the right sound in the background. And also think about, what are existing trends? Is there anything you can ensure to build in with creators, for example? Make it real, by simply put. What does that even mean? We get that question quite a lot. What does it mean to make something real? Well, 3 things. Make it entertaining. As Alex shared before, it's a platform to be entertained, also to connect, but predominantly to entertain and then share with friends. And for example, share the latest cooking trends, what I would do, or the latest travel tips, what Alex would do. It's a thing of entertaining and connecting. So make sure that that is landed. Also make it digestible. Similar to very long TV shows, you'll not have the audience of, or the attention span of 90 minutes. It's not even possible on Reels. So make it short, make it quick, and make it understandable. And lastly, make it relatable. We see that a lot of brands are using very high polished content, and there's nothing wrong with that. But in order to be relatable, you need to speak the language of the audience that is present in Reels. So what does that mean? If we break it down on the entertainment perspective, we can see that leveraging trends, also quickly changing trends, and building for audiences first is outperforming anything else. Reels is the placement to entertain, to learn new things, to be in touch with trends, to find new destinations for travel, whatever it might be. Great Reels and great Reels ads, therefore, are entertaining. They usually mix audio, visual effects, and creative storytelling to provoke an emotional response. It's more than just a static feed asset. It's a vibe, really. And the second one, they're digestible. They're short, they're adapted to the platform, they're making sure that the USP and the brand are upfront, similar to what also applies to mobile-first assets. But here, it's even more important to start with a hook, because otherwise, I'll just skip to the next reel. And then lastly, the point about being relatable. So Reels is an unvanished and spontaneous placement that uses recognizable stories or visual codes or shared behavior across the platforms that any person might be using. And it can be also outside of Instagram, but here they're relatable. That means working with humor, working with, as I mentioned, trends, working with anything that appeals to the target audience you're currently trying to achieve. So signal your place and culture by adopting that language to make sure that your assets outperform anything else. So what does that mean? In a nutshell, short form video is the next big shift. We've seen lots and lots of technical shifts in the past, but we see that short form video is the way how we make, watch, and entertain with content. And we need to make sure that we're also adjusting our strategy to that new technological shift. There's also a part of a cultural shift away from polished, high gloss assets towards a culture that celebrates relatability and authenticity. We can see that the majority of users actually agree more with what a creator says about a brand and what the brand says about itself. And we can also see that the purchase intent increases if a creator or a funny video, humorous video recommends a brand. So think about user-generated content, think about less perfect assets, less sparkling visuals, and more diversity in your assets. And lastly, by enabling access to mobile editing tools, such as we're currently staring at, or faster broadband speeds, we can also see that it's easier and also drastically democratized access to creativity. Anyone can be a creator, anyone, really anyone. I'm talking the existing creators, big creators, to my grandma, really. She could also film a reel, because the creativity is in the end in the hands of each and every person. So Reels is where brands are tapping into culture. It's also where they're reaching valuable new audiences. And as Alex mentioned before, it's also the place where you drive your brand from discovery to consideration to purchase. It's a way of leading every single user through the funnel by being a bit more spontaneous, a bit more creative, and a bit more out of the box than what you might have been using in the past. And what can help you achieve that if you're not really sure how to start are creators. They can help you speak the language of Reels because that's what they're doing anyways. We can see that on our platforms, there's more than 2 trillion minutes consumed with creator content on Facebook alone. Haven't even talked about Instagram there. So there's a huge opportunity to collaborate with creators in order to land your brand and your message. And to sum it up, always keep in mind, walk, run, and then sprint. Not everyone starts as Usain Bolt, very little do. So start by checking the box. Thank you.
Thank you to both of you for these insights into a short form video. We have quite some questions from the Q&A section. With respect to the time, I think we can't answer all of them. For example, I would skip the question about your personal Instagram handles. But there is a question about how would you advise on short video dimensions? Because sometimes there is the impression that someone has that, for example, Instagram feed videos automatically are also shown as reels as well, but then the video specs are just different. So what's your recommendation on that?
Sure. Okay. So I would recommend to use what you actually otherwise would use in stories. So definitely it should be vertical. And a pro tip, that's probably not a dimension, but what I learned from creators is that if you want to make it really, really perfect, Reels-like, then shoot with an Apple phone, because that should be also, that's what people are more used to.
All right. Another question that came twice is about copyright of music, because I mean, almost all these videos, they need music to really have an impact. And I mean, you can pre-select all these videos directly in the Instagram app. What about copyrights? Do I have to go to prison if I use one of these music files there?
I really hope you don't go to prison because of one of our talks. No, so the same applies as it applies to your standard assets. You need to have the buyout rights. There is a certain amount of songs available or audio tunes available at the Facebook Sound Collection, but you need to make sure you have the buyout rights when you're using it as a brand or as an ad.
All right, we have one final question. What distinguishes Reels from TikToks?
So I could go back to the charts from the very beginning. So what we see, and I can't talk about TikTok, obviously, but what we see is that our positioning is really the intersection of connection and entertainment. And this is where we stand out. So people watch not only, but they share it, they talk about it, and they action actually, because it is very much of a lean forward media.
I would also add to that actually that it's about reach. It's about reaching your target audience as broadly as you can with your highly expensively produced assets or highly expensive buyout rights from creators. So on our platforms, you can buy it all together. You can really have the placements on feeds, on stories, and on Reels, and combine it into a very, very high reach campaign.
And one last question that we have is about branding. So when I, as a brand, produce a short form video and put it on Instagram, what is your recommendation? Is it enough to mention the company just via text in a reel, or do you think it would be more impactful if there is a real brand produced outro at the end, which, I mean, then displays the brand, but might make the video a little bit less authentic? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Probably. We often talk about test and learn because, for instance, if you watch the reels that Aldi produces, they often use their Aldi bag. So they don't put a video, a logo in it, but they somehow use the product and they find creative ways. So I think it's something you really should test and try. How it works best for your brand. And by the way, also, I would not recommend only the outro, but also to make sure people know what you are about, also probably at the first 3 seconds, because this is where people decide whether or not they watch the reel to the very end. But yes, don't just think about a logo, think about more creative ways of making sure people connect with your brand.
Wonderful. So we're slowly running out of time. So I say thanks a lot to Alexandra and Katharina from Meta for giving these insights on short form video.